Dan Schneider, a scandal at Nickelodeon by blame it on George. George, what the heck? I wanted to do this in a Spanish way, but I realized that was not a good idea. Let's get into it. Let's see. I don't know much about Dan Schneider except that he was working at Nickelodeon and he was very much into feet. So much so that it was actually uncomfortable for the girls working for him, but we'll have to see. I do not know how to pronounce that, Raven, and I'm not going to. Viewer discretion is advised. Chat, if you don't like what we're about to talk, what is about to be talked about, run now.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
Oh no.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
If you grew up watching Nickelodeon, then you may have heard of Dan Schneider. He was responsible for many of its hit shows during the 90s and 2000s.
Okay. All that. Kenan and Keel, I don't know that. The Amanda Show, absolutely also not. Drake and Josh, I know. Zoe 101, I'm aware of that as well. iCarly, obviously. Victoria's aware. Sam and Cat, also aware. Henry Danger, okay. Game Shakers, also The Adventures of Kid Danger. Okay. Okay. Try it. Eventually. Probably not.
Such as The Amanda Show, iCarly, and my personal favorite, Drake and Josh. In recent years, Dan has been brought into controversy due to rumors about abusive and possibly sexual behaviors between him and his young female co-stars. None of these rumors were grounded with any hard evidence, and most people dismissed it. Until March 26, 2018, when Nickelodeon announced that they will be parting ways with Dan Schneider. The news surprised many people. Why would Nickelodeon fire one of its biggest producers seemingly out of nowhere? Were they aware of all the rumors and decided to finally do something about it? What is the Dan Schneider conspiracy?
I mean, let's say he was innocent, but there were still rumors about it. I think the most smart thing to do as a business is fire that person. As harsh as it may sound. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm Sam, and we like to...
We're starting with the feet thing, huh? We're starting with the feet thing. If the feet thing is the least weird one... Oh boy. Now, these might not be in a particular order, but again, feet. The feet bros will be not happy.
To draw families on our toes. Observe! Okay, and that completes our 5-part series on toes with froze. Now?
That reminds me of the Chinese food video about feet again.
I'm gonna turn off the camera using only the remote and the power of my toes.
One of the most prominent rumors regarding Dan Schneider is that he has a thing for feet and uses his shows and their following to satisfy this fetish. You may be thinking, well, maybe he just finds feet and toes to be funny. And to be honest, some of the scenes by themselves are rather harmless and something that I can imagine on other shows. However, it's undeniable that there are a large number of feet-related puns and barefoot scenes in his shows, too many to list here. Outside of television, there are some weird examples, however. In Victorious, Tori...
Yeah, he definitely has a thing for feet. There's no denial. I don't think we can deny this. He has a thing for feet. Granted, it's not the weirdest thing in the world. However, These are still, I think, mostly underage girls, so I guess it is weird.
She hosts an online show called Tori Takes Requests, where viewers can ask her to do all sorts of random things. In the very first episode, Tori gets a request to have ketchup poured all over her feet.
Wonderful. Great. More feet. Seasoned feet.
And then she does a little dance at the end. In another online show called Cat's Random Thoughts, there's a moment in the first episode where she sticks her big toe in her mouth.
What the fuck? I thought it was bad. Oh, this bad. Ooh.
I didn't really watch Victorious growing up, so I don't know if these played on television, but I do know that they were extras on theslab.com, a fictional in-universe website. Now, here is where things get even more unusual. On September 13th, 2013, the Salmon Cat Twitter page asked its followers to take a picture of their feet with the
He's playing that feed thing to the end, huh?
hashtag Sam and Cat Saturday, and a number of people did. This is just one of many now infamous feet-related tweets from Dan Schneider and his shows, but this is the most well-known. You can find several if you look around long enough.
Bro now has a feet collection. I bet bro has a feet collection now. I can almost guarantee that bro has a feet collection now.
During the same year, there was a post on Reddit about how Dan Schneider is the most successful writer / TV executive in children's television for the last 30 years. A user commented, "I grew up in LA and was an extra on the Amanda Show a few times. He, being Dan Schneider, paid me $100 once just to tickle my feet." The user further elaborated,
Yeah, never mind. Bro has absolute and utterly a thing for feet. There's no denial that bro does not have a thing for feet. He just does not have a thing for... There's no denial. Ooh.
To make a weird story short, in between takes, Dan asked me if I was ticklish, and I said no. Then he bet me $100 he could make me ticklish. I was expecting him to reach over and tickle me under my arm or something like that, but he led me to his office. I basically got paid to receive a foot massage and a lot of compliments.
Imagine getting a feet massage by Dan Schneider. That is weird as hell.
The commenter later deleted his or her account. It's unknown who this person is, how old he or she was, or if this person was even telling the truth. A small YouTube channel known as Revenge of the Sis have done a number of videos about Dan Schneider, and during one of their podcasts, they received a call from an anonymous source stating that she went to an audition for one of Dan Schneider's shows. The call was quite lengthy, so for time's sake, I'll be playing a portion of what she had to say. The full podcast will be available below.
So in 1997, I was discovered in a mall, and basically we would go on auditions just to different places, and eventually I got a manager and an agent who would send me on audition calls for, like little things like commercials and everything. And then as I started growing in my career, in 2007, my agent contacted me and my family about possibly getting a good Nickelodeon gig. And we flew out to LA for this audition. And when we got there, it was a bunch of kids, probably like 200 kids. And then these random agents hand-selected specific kids that they liked or,
The kids with the best feet. This is gross. This is so gross. This is incredibly gross. Imagine not being taken for being casted for a show because your feet are not that great.
Showed some charisma. And then once about 40 kids were selected, we were then told to take off our shoes and that we were each going to go into a room to show the producer, who is Dan Schneider, the tapes to see who we would want on the show. And of course, you know, we always ask, like, oh, what do we have to do? Like, what would you like us to be doing once we're in there? And my agent told me, he's like, it's going to be like he's like, you got to just take off your shoes, just like run around in front of the camera, talk about how much you love being barefoot. And at the time...
What? Why? I mean, I know why, but and why that late? Like, I would have said years ago, I would... The feet bros.
Even, it was like, okay, that's weird, but I didn't think anything of it because I was still young.
Right.
My mom kind of looked around and was like, this is wrong. There's just something really wrong about this.
Because this person's mother decided to take her out of the audition, she's been blacklisted from the business.
Like, actually blacklisted from the business? What? But based mom, good mom. The right decision. Absolutely the right decision for the mom. 100%.
Hey, Dan Schneider. I know you're watching my Vine. Do you like my Vine? Vine. Look what you've done to me.
There are a number of photos circulating the internet of Dan Schneider being a bit too touchy with his young child actors, some of which are a bit more uncomfortable to look at than others.
If she is underage, execute him on the spot, thank you. What the?
There are stories of him inviting young actresses into his office and hosting pool parties during auditions.
So what would happen is that your parents would send you to sort of like this camp. It was basic acting classes, and it was an opportunity for the kids to get discovered. And interestingly enough, most of the kids got discovered by the pool. They had a pool, they had like tennis courts, and I believe like it was like Megan Fox and other female and Hilary Duff was another one who got discovered there at the pool. And they would push you to do pool activities because they said that's where you have the highest chance of getting discovered.
Now, what was the age range of the people that went to these at these camps?
The age ranges, the ones that I was familiar with, are ages 13 to 22.
I don't know. I think that's very young. I don't know. This is weird. No, this is weird. This is kind of... no. No, what? Okay. Is it just me? Again, that would kind of defeat, like harm filming and stuff. I think there should be proper, care to look after child actors. Because even to this day, like, child actors are not really being looked after properly. I don't know, that's weird.
In an article by Kira Davis from Red State, she writes, I happened to be chatting with a former child actor over a week ago. We were discussing Weinstein, and she told me that in her youth, she worked on one of Schneider's shows very briefly. She told me, my friend was molested by that man, on set. Everyone knew it. No one said a word.
Like, if I worked with underage people, boys and girls, I would not touch them, ever, at all. Never. Like, even if you know, we just have seen this recently, right, with the guy that voiced Broly in the dub for Dragon Ball Z, and DBS Broly, I think, also still. Just being pretty much cancelled for hugs. So nowadays, you should really just not touch anybody at all, actually. Screw that, scrap that. Not just touch anybody at all, I would say. Even with their consent, because consent nowadays is a spectrum. I can withdraw consent. Which is why, no, never touch anybody.
In 2004, actor and producer Brian Peck was convicted of several accounts.
Actually, not just touch, not even be alone with them, ever. Ever. When it comes to minors, ever.
Of lewd acts towards a minor, and was sentenced to 16 months in prison.
That's not enough. That's not enough. Quadruple that.
Court documents reveal that several of these acts involved attempted sodomy of a person under 16, sexual penetration by foreign object, and oral copulation by anesthesia or control.
Well, that escalated quickly. That is bad.
Controlled substance, just to name a few. The victim has remained anonymous to protect his or her career, but according to reports, the child actor was involved in The Amanda Show. After serving a sentence, Peck was released from prison.
Pedophiles don't deserve consent. They don't deserve anything. I think, like, if you do that... Some people may disagree with me, but if you do that, you lose every single human right that exists. You lose all your... If you do that to a child... You lose every single, in my opinion, every single human right. The only right you have is to see onions from under them. You can see onions under the ground. That's the only thing I think should happen.
And went straight back to working on kids shows, such as The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
No, I love this show. When I was a kid, Zack and Cody was fun to watch. No. No. Aww. Man.
This is because, although he is prohibited from direct contact with children, that technically doesn't mean he's not allowed to work on shows that involve children.
I wonder where I'd wear this.
Wear it to a fruit stand. You look like a lime.
So what does this have to do with Dan Schneider? Well, in a 2002 article titled "Groomed to be..."
Imagine being called a lime. Interesting insult.
All that, it is revealed that Dan Schneider and Brian Peck would host comedy boot camps for Nickelodeon child stars, where they were allegedly separated from their parents. Really think about that for a bit. The guy that held boot camps.
The guy doing that stuff to children, holding a boot camp where children are separated from their parents. That would be a huge alert. That would sound every single alert ever. And with Dan being just as weird. Ugh.
For children was convicted and sentenced 2 years later for committing sexual acts with children, and then went straight back to working on children's shows. When asked if he had anything to say to the...
Okay, that happened before that. Before he was... Okay, then here you can't really blame the parent. You can't blame the parents, because the parents obviously weren't aware. But then again, I would never leave my child alone. Like, alone in, like, the sense that there's nobody watching over them. Like, if there were two dudes just watching my kids, I'd be afraid, actually. Delicious? What?
The child he abused, Peck responded with, I don't have any comment on it. I really don't. And this is the guy that Dan Schneider worked with for years. According to Deadline.com, Dan Schneider was known for having temper issues. During a meeting with Nickelodeon executives, Dan was told that his show Game Shakers would not be renewed for a 4th season.
I've seen a little bit of that. Nothing major, but I've seen a few things. Few episodes. If you have anger issues, you just not work with children at all. That's just me. You should not work with children at all.
Leaving it on a cliffhanger ending. It was also reported that Nickelodeon's newest show, Cousins for Life, would move into the same studio that all of Schneider's shows were exclusively produced for years, and that Dan wasn't so happy about having to share space now. Perhaps the most absurd allegation towards Dan Schneider is that he is the true father of Jamie Lynn Spears' daughter. Yeah, this is a little silly, but it does lead into something interesting, so I'm going to bring it up for educational purposes, just so you guys know. Jamie Lynn Spears, the star of Zoey 101, infamously got pregnant at 16 years old, which resulted in the cancellation of the show. Crazy Days and Nights is an online gossiping website ran by an anonymous blogger known as NT.
There is an actual online gossiping site? I guess. Okay. I never watched Zoey 101. Like, I'm aware of it. I've seen, like, snippets from, like, going through every single channel and then it being occasionally on TV when I was a kid, but I never watched, like, an entire episode ever at all.
A self-proclaimed dialed-in entertainment lawyer. Supposedly, NT was able to predict certain scandals involving big-name celebrities, such as Weinstein and Kevin Spacey, on his website years before mainstream media caught on. Obviously, there's no way to verify this is accurate, despite the Daily Beast believing so. Regardless, there was an interesting post made by NT in October of 2007 saying, "I don't even know how you define what list someone is when they are on some ensemble show watched by teens and preteens. So go with the above and make her a female. Make her pregnant, which is causing the producers to have a heart attack because they really don't need any more scandals. But wait, there's more. One of the producers, who was old enough to be her grandfather, shouldn't be having a heart attack because of shock."
Wait, so is he implying, are they implying here that Dan Schneider is the dad? That is scary.
Because he is the one who knocked her up. New boyfriends are being lined up as we speak. In December of 2007, just 2 months later, Jamie Lynn Spears announces her pregnancy. Speaking of Crazy Days and Nights, visitors to the website are able to create accounts and comment on NT's posts, often attempting to guess which celebrity will be exposed next. One of these commenters, known as him, is believed to be Robert Downey Jr.
What? What? This escalated quickly. I guess he is truly him. He's not just Iron Man and Doctor Doom. He exposed also files. How would you even know? Like, how would you even know that it is Robert Downey Jr.? Like, what evidence do you have? I'm curious now.
Yeah, the Golden Avenger himself. Where the hell did this come from? Well, most people came to this conclusion because of what him revealed about himself through his posts, such as having a troubled youth and nearly destroying his Hollywood career. Him also listed celebrities that he was friends with, including Jon Favreau, Guy Ritchie, David Kelly, John Hughes, Natasha Gregson Wagner, Brian Lord, Tommy Lee Jones, Susanna Hoffs, Steve Martin, Rachel McAdams, Molly Ringwald, Miranda Cosgrove, and Susan Downey, Robert Downey Jr.'s wife. It's worth noting that him's complete list of celebrities included some that people were not able to find a connection to Robert Downey Jr., such as Neil Patrick Harris and John Hamm. Of course, there is no way to know for certain who him is, but what we do know is that some time ago, he had this to say about Dan Schneider. He's a monster.
So pretty much like we are theorizing that it is Robert Downey Jr., but we do not know. I guess the evidence of having these friends, and the fact that he also like made movies with these people. I guess there is some evidence, but it'd be wild if it actually was.
The worst predator alive. And if you wonder why nobody will confront or charge him, he's in.
I don't know. There's one predator that might actually be worse. You know, that certain island. I don't know.
Charge of multiple hit shows for Nick, which rakes in oceans of money, tens of millions of dollars multiplied by many years and many shows, not to mention his merchandising royalties. So Viacom Nick warned him to cool it, then pay for his damn lawyers. What about the parents? No tweener parent who shoved their kid into the limelight from birth is going to cross him either, and risk career suicide and loss of revenue and residuals in future career. No matter how bad it fucks up the kids, especially if there's multiple kid actors in the family, and the kids' agents are complicit too, just ask the Spears family. A lot of settlements get paid out of Viacom's accounts. Finally, on March 26, 2018, Nickelodeon parted ways with Dan Schneider.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that the parents would disregard the kids' safety just for money. That's really nothing new. I think actually this is very likely very common for parents that want to turn their kids into celebrities. Everything for that fame, regardless if it harms the child or not.
Nickelodeon's official statement was, following many conversations together about next directions and future opportunities, Nickelodeon and our longtime creative partner Dan Schneider / Schneider's Bakery have agreed to not extend the current deal. Since several Schneider's Bakery projects are wrapping up, both sides have agreed that this is a natural time for Nickelodeon and Schneider's Bakery to pursue other opportunities and projects. Dan was given a payout of $7 million upon his departure. He and his wife sold their home and currently reside in Hidden Hills, California. It's unknown if Dan Schneider is working on any new projects. So, is Dan guilty? Did he really abuse his young child actors? Well, no one knows for certain. As you may have noticed, there is actually no concrete evidence against Dan Schneider. No celebrity has spoken out, and the ones who did have kept their identities private or are anonymous. So, for all we know, they could be lying. The closest comes to us from Noah Monk, the actor who played Gibby on iCarly.
Uh-oh. Gibby! Still my favorite scene is when they're in the basement and I think was it Carly say, or was it Sam saying Gibby? And then Gibby just screaming Gibby and falling from the ceiling. Yeah. We have no this is all allegedly, right? We have no hard evidence that that is the actual case. Well, we do definitely have evidence that somebody likes feet a lot.
The official podcast, but even he was hesitant on defending Dan.
I was sort of, I mean, if that shit went on, I'm fucking like, that's devastating to me because I don't see him in that light, you know? So watching clips on YouTube and shit of that is like crazy. But I mean, the foot fetish shit is like, okay, bro, come on. Like, I never really noticed that when I was 15 on the show, but of course, looking in retrospect, it's like, oh, okay. No.
Bro looked at it in retrospect and said, yep, somebody likes feet.
No, I don't know. No, and I never observed, saw anything like that or got hints of that. So it's fucking, it might be baseless rumor, but I don't want to speak. Like, what if some shit comes out? I don't want to be like on record being like, no, you know, so I have no clue.
These rumors and accusations have existed for a while, but nobody really said or did anything until Nickelodeon separated themselves from Dan. It was only then that people started growing concern. Why would Nickelodeon fire one of their biggest producers just out of nowhere? Were they aware of something? Many people point to this.
I mean, either they were aware, or what could also likely, which a lot of companies do, when there's just too many rumors and there's too many bad publicity, they just fire people. That could also be a thing.
Events as evidence that Dan must be guilty, but I beg to differ. I think it's worth mentioning that Dan's shows have been seriously declining in ratings. iCarly's pilot episode got 4.1 million views. Their most viewed episode, I Saved Your Life, got 11.2 million views, and their least viewed episode, I Battled Chip, got 2.4 million views. Victorious' pilot episode got 5.7 million, their most viewed episode, Begging on Your Knees, got 6.1 million, and their least viewed episode, The Hambone King, got 2.39 million, so not that bad. Skipping over Sam and Cat since that show never finished, Henry Danger's pilot episode got 1.94 million views.
Ooh. I mean, that show wasn't that good anyways to begin with. It was okay, there was some banger episodes in there, but nothing major. Also, I never noticed feet in that one, so I can't tell.
Their most viewed episode, Hour of Power, got 3.16 million, and their least viewed episode, Saturday Night Lies, got 1.05 million. Game Shaker's pilot episode got 1.98 million views. Their most viewed episode was the pilot episode.
Yikes.
And their least viewed episode, Escape from Utah, got 0.52 million views. It seems as if the Schneider style just wasn't working anymore. Is it not more reasonable that Nickelodeon saw this trend?
The cash cow was no longer be able to be milked, is what the core problem is here is. It was no longer possible to milk Dan Schneider. I mean, that could also be a reasonable explanation then why he got fired. Just simply, the shows weren't doing that well.
And fired him because of it. I don't want to dismiss any of the people that have investigated and spoken out against him. I mean, with this many rumors and allegations surrounding Dan, it's just kind of hard to ignore it. And it's not like this hasn't happened before. In 2004, a man known as Jason Handy used his job at Nickelodeon to lure young child actors. He was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison for molestation and possession of child pornography.
There should have been... There's a permanent solution for this guy. I'm just gonna say, there's a permanent solution. I can spell it out, but there's a permanent solution.
And after serving his time, he was released and went straight back to working on Nickelodeon. Hollywood is one of the most unsupervised, unrestricted industries in the world. The promise of fame and fortune can be so alluring to young and upcoming actresses and actors that they and their families are just willing to do anything. Once you become a public figure, everything you say and do will be held against you. Which is why if some actor or
That's why I'm one of the also part of the group of people that say Hollywood is evil. But still people are not looking into it because, you know, it's a lot of money. It makes a lot of money. You can bribe people.
Actress in the industry was abused as a child, they'd probably rather say nothing and not risk their career. You can't change the past, so might as well keep making money. I think the most we can definitively say about Dan is that, at the very least, he finds feet entertaining, and that's not a crime. But who knows? Maybe someday an actor or actress will speak out against Dan. Maybe concrete evidence will be found. And maybe something will be done.
I guess, maybe not a crime directly, right? But still weird because, again, I don't know the age of the of the people back in that day, when they made the shows. The girls were likely underage, which does make it definitely weird.
I suppose we'll never know.
That is pretty much the end of the video. Well, now we know. Dan Schneider is kinda, disgusting.